Hello everyone, I'm Cassandra.
And I'm Mom.
And this is Millennial Mom, and today we are here to recap Married at First Sight Season 11, Episode 3. It's not the first time. And we already know who they're talking about, so let's get into a review. So we're picking up where we left off with Amelia and Bennett and how production was being shady.
They were.
With the close-ups. But it turns out Amelia and Bennett know each other from going to parties with a mutual friend named Mary. Mm-hmm. I was like, Mary? That sounds familiar.
You're thinking of a show that we watch and we review from a past season.
But I was surprised that they actually like each other, even though Bennett gave like a O. It was kind of a concerning O at the beginning, but it turns out he really likes her too.
Yeah. I was surprised too, because I was like, oh no. Like, of the couple who I thought would make it, it's not going to make it. There's some dirt somewhere. But there wasn't dirt. They vibed through everything, and that was so refreshing to see, because you don't normally see that on this show. But while they were giving their vows, I thought it was kind of different that Amelia wrote a poem that rhymed. I mean, when's the last time you wrote a poem?
Well, clearly she writes a poem all the time. But I was also like, was it shade to the past season when she was like vanilla?
I don't know. I didn't get that.
I did.
So after their vows, they go off to learn about each other, and they're just laughing and giddy like, oh, I can't believe we met. Oh my God, where did we meet? Was it at that party? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. Like, oh my God, like, I met you at the party. You look familiar. Was it just one time? And it's like, no, I don't think so. I think it was twice. Mm-hmm. It was twice? You have a band. Oh, that was your band?
Right, they were hitting you off, but Mom, did you catch the part when he was like, yeah, I was talking to her, but I had a girlfriend at the time?
Yeah.
I was like, Bennett.
Well, I mean, if they're in the same setting and they share a few common friends, I mean, it's nothing to talk with someone else if you have a girlfriend. It was just conversation. Who's to say she wasn't next to him? So now they move on. They take pictures, and they're quirky pictures. I mean, their whole vibe, they're meshing. And the picture that's selected for the show is like, you know, that's perfect. With a little bird in her hair and his, like, look at the camera.
All he was missing was that hat.
Was you jealous of your boyfriend?
No, I wasn't jealous. If anything, see, I just think he's cute. Mm-hmm. All the other logistics with him, I can't get with.
Well, that's good to know that your hygiene is on point. So they're at the reception, and they have a first dance, and she's asking little questions to break the ice, like, what's your favorite ice cream? And, you know, different little things. He's like, different kinds of chocolate, fudge. I'm like, did you have to go in detail? But I guess that seems to be their relationship. And so when they sit down and they go to eat, she's like, are you hungry? He's like, oh, I don't know. You know, I'm a vegetarian, but I'm a vegan.
He's a cultural vegetarian.
And I'm like,
that sounds like me.
What? Well, he didn't eat. After they eat dinner, or one of them eats, I don't know. The parents give a speech, and his mom gives her speech. It's kind of like a theatrical show. Like, the whole thing reminded me of like a production.
Yeah, it was lots of words. Bennett was kind of looking at his mom like, okay, cool, but like, hurry up and wrap it up. But one of the things I found interesting was, I don't remember if she said this or they said it in the vows, that he likes all beings living or not. And that's one of the reasons why he didn't eat the meat, because, you know, the other sea animals don't have
Don't
vows.
go into details.
I don't even know how to explain it. I was just sitting there like,
well, it wasn't in the vows. He had mentioned quirky things before they met and got married. He mentioned why he didn't eat certain things as the reason why he wasn't eating what was on that plate to her. And then in his mom's speech, there's so many instances. She was saying like, okay, Amelia, you have to get used to when you put things in the trash, you have to say you're sorry. I was like, okay. It just seemed, again, like I mentioned, it was like a production play, because he's a thespian and she's quirky. It just all meshed, like her side, his side. It was a mesh for me.
It was. So at first I wasn't really like seeing it for the couple, but now that they know each other, they're vibing with each other, they're just both as weird. Like later on in the scene where she's doing the tradition with the egg and the rope, and he had to catch the egg in his mouth.
And my thing is like, okay, you're swinging it for happiness, fertility, things like that. But how many chances do you get to catch it? Because he did it so many times. I'm like, okay, so is this really going to work?
Right. Then he broke the egg in his mouth. I was like, ooh.
And then when we talk to the friends, Amelia talks to his friends. They're like, so what do you like about him? She's like, I like the fact that he's nice. He's like me. You know, different little things that she came up with. And it's true. She did like him. I mean, she just couldn't stop her not laughing, but her giddiness laughing. Like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe he's such a nice guy. She can't believe we're married. But when he talks to her friends, they ask him questions like, so what national monument do you refer yourself to? I'm like, what?
Right, like, how is this getting to know somebody?
He gave an answer, though. He said Big Ben. They're like, oh, that's worldly. I'm like, okay. Like, this whole episode with them, I was like, okay.
Right. And then they got to the part where, like, oh, well, do you like her underarm hair? He's like, I didn't even notice, but you know what? More power to her. And I'm like, you know, to each his own. If that's what you do, that's what you do. But they were all vibing. But then when he got to his friends, they were just throwing out a whole lot of maraschino cherries, ice cream, stuff like that. I already knew what they were talking about. Everyone knew what they were talking about. Some boom boom.
Right.
But the part when he said, this is what turned me completely off from Bennett. He forgot his toothbrush. And at 12:35, he's going to brush his teeth. And then at 12:37, she's going to brush her teeth with the same toothbrush.
I mean, they could call down to the front desk to get a toothbrush.
Exactly.
But if they are into each other and their hygiene, okay, that's just what they do. Like I said, the whole episode and their togetherness just made me say, okay.
Then we finally get to the last wedding. Christina and Henry. Now, from the previews that we saw last week about Christina, she seemed fairly rude. And she actually matched up with what we saw last week because I wasn't liking her vibe. And I wasn't liking the bridesmaids' dresses.
The bridesmaids, I don't think they had on dresses. I think they had like one-piece pantsuits. And I actually liked that. I thought that was different. But her vibe was rude. And I'm giving her RBF, resting face. The whole episode. Her idea of getting married because she don't want to be alone anymore, and she didn't have her dad in her life, so the things she's learned about a man and what she's looking for is from movies and TV shows. I was like, oh, okay.
Like, this is
like
your representation?
But there could be all kind of movies or TV shows. I mean, they're on Lifetime, so is she watching Lifetime movies?
I hope not, because we all know how Lifetime movies end.
Well, her grandma and her mom come in, say they've been praying for her, so everything is good. Don't be nervous. Now, Christina, she's okay to start, but it's as the day goes on.
Yeah, she was progressively getting rude because it was just her tone of how she was speaking to people. And when her grandma was like, oh, I hope they find her someone because, you know, she really needs someone to help her out. I'm like, Grandma, what is you not telling us? Because she's not telling us something. I feel like we need to know.
Well, then we see Henry get ready. His family's there and everything. But the person who stole the show, and before I continue on, I would love to see Henry's dad and Woody's family continue on in the episodes. But Henry's dad is like, you know, I can't believe he's doing this. Like, I wouldn't do this. Like, this is outrageous. Like, he's prim and proper. He starts his shirts like, pretty much like, who is he? He's not my son. Is he my son? Is he really my son? Henry's nervous, of course. His friends are there. And he has 3 good female friends that he's close to. And, you know, that may be a problem as time goes on. But now we jump back to Christina. She has her wedding dress on, and I actually like her dress.
I didn't like her dress. It looked hot.
Everything's hot to you. I like her dress. It fit her nice. But before she goes to the wedding venue, you know what? She finally gets flowers from a man.
I was happy for her.
I was too. Well, anyone, you know, that's a nice thing to give is flowers. But she's really stuck on the flower thing. I'm like, well, what else is there that you want besides a man from a TV or a movie show?
And some flowers.
Now we get to the wedding. Henry walks in, and when he walks in, the people in the room like clapping. I don't think I recall them clapping before. They're clapping. And someone that's in behind Christina's grandma is like, oh, he's hot. Mm-hmm. I wonder who that was.
Me too, because if Christina's not going to take him, he will.
He's nervous. You could tell there's a lot of nervous energy coming from Henry. Like, even before he got married, even when he told people he was getting married, just nervous energy. Mm-hmm. Now it's Christina's turn to walk down the aisle, but production wants her to do one last diary, and that's when she becomes a bridezilla.
Right.
I'm like, why? I mean, this is part of the show.
Mm-hmm. And she was like, oh, could you guys go back there? I'm not moving from my spot. And they're like, okay. And they moved. She did her little 2-second diary cam, and then she moved.
Right. But
I was like, Christina, that defeats the purpose.
It does. But you know what? She got her karma, because when it was time for her to walk down the aisle, that veil got stuck in the door.
I laughed.
And that's what you
I
get.
almost screamed, because I thought that was so funny.
Karma.
Right.
So,
it came too quick.
Now she's at the altar. They meet. And Henry, I don't even know. I mean, the negative energy is overriding who Henry probably is. Because I'm not feeling this at all. I think the match for Christina is probably Brett.
No, you probably only see that because Brett and Christina seem to be the two people with the rudest personality, because I don't have another word
sarcastic
for it right now. But they wouldn't work out. So I think the matches that they have with each other are perfect, because yeah, he's awkward. Henry's awkward, but as we've seen later on with Christina, she seems awkward, but she's really not helping out the energy at all, because it kind of seems like she doesn't care and she's only seeing that she looks good.
That's true. But going back to the vows, when Henry read his vows, I was like, is this a 3rd grade poem?
Don't do him like that.
No, I have to do him like that. This was something, in my opinion, that was not thought out. It was about his wants, what he likes, and, this is how it is, and this is me. Not like, oh, I take you, you might be my destiny, something like that. I've never heard vows like that before. I was disappointed.
Well, how do you compare his to Christina's?
Christina's, at least it was more well thought out. It wasn't like a 3rd grade poem. But when Henry was giving his vows, his dad was looking down like... I was with Dad on that. I was with him on that. I like nuggets, and I like pie. I like to bike. I like the sky. I like the sun. I'm like, give me a break. Now they go take pictures. And Christina is taking the lead. I mean, Henry is not doing anything at all. Like, she's like...
Well, that goes back to what I said earlier. She can tell that his vibe isn't there, that he might be nervous or awkward or whatever.
That's fine.
But she isn't doing anything to help him out. It's only that she looks good in those wedding photos, or she looks good at the reception.
Yes, I get that. It's only about me kind of thing with Christina. But speaking of the reception, they do their first dance, and
awkward.
I was just the complete opposite from Amelia and Bennett's wedding. I was just thrown off. I was looking at like... Because there was just nothing to say. You can tell just she wasn't feeling it. It's all in her RBF face. Mm-hmm. He wasn't feeling it because he's awkward. He's nervous. Yeah, but he just didn't seem... There was no vibe there for me. There was no connection.
There wasn't. And on top of there not being a connection, she don't even remember homeboy's name.
That's true. She didn't.
She called him Luke.
Yep.
Like, who's Luke?
Right. And... Luke from the previous Married at First Sight?
Absolutely not.
Well, we also learned that Christina has been in a 5-year relationship previously and has only broken up 9 months prior.
And when I heard that, I was like, that is what the grandma was referring to. That's it. That was just it. That was my aha moment. And out the whole 5 years, that man never gave you flowers. And you're still stuck on this 5-year relationship?
And one of my first thought was, you had your aha. My aha was, okay, so this Married at First Sight is your rebound. Reminds me of Katie from last season.
I'm not even going to touch on that.
You can't. Let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments. Does it remind you of Katie, who just came out of a relationship as well?
So later on, as we're sitting, we get to see I think, the highlight of the show. When Henry's friends decided to waltz on over to, I'm not even say introduce herself to Christina, more like just to see who she is.
Well, overall, they were coming over to see who she was and low-key introduce themselves, because that's what they're supposed to do, because you're supposed to interact with friends and family, and those are his closest friends, because he said he didn't have a lot of family.
Well, it seemed more like hate to me, because one, we found out that the girl in the pink dress dated him once, but, you know, he was too boring. So she wanted to find some other friends that he has, and she ended up meshing with his other friends that are also female. And while they were talking, Christina also alludes to the 5-year relationship. And then the one in the black dress was like, oh, you know, I really don't see it working for them. Of course, they're all kind of tipsy, lit at this moment. So she was still basically like, oh, you know, I just don't see it for her. I don't see it for them. You know, I kind of judge somebody for being on the show. Like, I look at her like a woman. I judge her.
And when she said that, I said to myself, oh, you judge her, but what about your bestie who's sitting next to her?
Well, that's when she also says that, you know, I don't even see this as a relationship. I'm not going to respect it as a relationship. So I don't know if she was only saying this because she was drunk or...
Allegedly,
or if this how she really feels, because it really seems like, hey, if you really wanted to be with Henry, you had all the time of however long y'all was friends to be with this man. So if this is your friend, why aren't you supporting your friend?
Well, she had time to be with Henry, but Henry would have wanted to be with her too. So if it didn't go both ways, it doesn't matter how she felt if he wasn't feeling that too. And clearly that's what it was, because Henry is now with Christina.
So I don't see how Henry's friends are going to work with Christina, because even though Christina was seeming like she was being friendly, I feel like Christina's going to shut all this down real quick.
Christina wants to shut it down, but I believe Henry is attached to his friends. I believe his friends are his communicating buddies and everything else, his secret holders, that he'll take his friends over Christina, because technically he doesn't know Christina.
You think so? I don't think so.
So now we get to the toast, and Henry's dad, also named Henry, does not disappoint. He doesn't. He goes in at him, and you know, the jabs are supposed to be kidding, but oh no.
No, he wasn't kidding, talking about how he takes his mom, because he's a mama's boy, to the supermarket, and he always has his credit card, but ends up filling up his gas tank and taking his toilet paper.
Right, like you can't even see him walk out the door because he got everything up there. So now he's going to be shopping for two, like in our pantry. But earlier when he said that, you know, he's a pretty boy and he didn't know how he got to be so sensitive, I'm like, wow.
I was like, ooh.
The complete opposite. And then when he said, you know, he's more put together, I hope you don't mind that. I hope you don't mind it. I was like, Christina,
I hope you don't mind it.
Yeah, but Henry's dad is something else, and I think he's the keeper of secrets too.
So now we're back to Karen and Miles. Do you think Karen has warmed up a little bit throughout the reception?
Karen?
Yes, Karen.
Warmed up?
Yes.
No. I don't. They get to talking about maturity level and what they wanted from each other, and she's like, well, how old do you think I am? He's like, I don't know. How old are you? She said 30. He's like, oh, okay. Well, I figure you're older than me. I could tell that when you walked in the aisle. She was like, how? I can tell you just look like you was mature, like you was a grown woman come up the aisle. I'm like, see, that's a good answer. In Karen's confessional, she says, well, you know, she's still dedicated to this process, but she still wasn't really sure. And I'm like, she said that just because he said that she looked like she was a grown woman? Like, her whole vibe also is thrown off. With these couples, your vibe is either there or it's not. And there's more that's not than there are. I just don't think we've experienced this in Married at First Sight. I know I went off topic, but I just had to say that.
Yeah, I'm wondering how Miles is not really feeling this. Maybe he's just like in the awe because he actually likes Karen for the most part for now. But I thought it was interesting when we got to see them sit down with each other's parents. And Karen's mom, Kathy, she was kind of grilling Miles a little bit
But she wasn't rude about it because
No.
when she was told she was getting married, she was real rude. But she came around to the idea, maybe because the wedding's already happened, the reception, so you might as well also go through the process like your daughter says she will. And she said to Miles, I hope you're in it for the long haul, because she's looking for love. She's looking for that long term. And Miles said he's looking for the same thing. And Kathy goes on to say, that's my princess. That's my baby. I hope you treat her right. I feel the same about you, but hopefully you won't marry at first sight.
Yep. I also forgot. I don't know if it was Karen's mom or if it was Miles's parents. Someone said that Karen is nurturing.
Well, clearly that would be Karen's mom.
I don't remember who, but I was like,
how would Miles' parents know she's nurturing?
Because maybe someone went along and said that Miles needs someone who's nurturing.
Well, Miles' dad said that, but...
Oh, okay, because I'm like, Karen is not nurturing.
Well...
At all. Not from what we see right now.
No, that she's definitely not giving that. But the thing with Miles' parents is when they're trying to give how he is, the parents tend to get into a little tiff like, oh, he's a mama's boy. No, he's not. Yes, he is. No, he called me every day. He should call you. I'm like, what is this? Right. They remind me of a movie by Eddie Murphy with the family when they was going back and forth at the table.
The Clumps?
The Clumps. I'm not calling them the Clumps, but that's what remind me of. Like, no, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. And the bottom line is Miles wants this. Miles wants to be married. They tell us to Karen. His friends have told us to Karen, but Karen just... I think she feels she made a mistake by doing this and feel like it's rushed, and it's really not something she wants to do at the end of the day.
But after they had their New Orleans style send off, which I thought was cool.
They all had it, and I enjoyed it.
They go back to the hotel room. Karen looked like she was about to knock out where she was. Not because she was tired, because she was just ready to end the night, to me.
Yeah. Get this over with. Get it all over with, this process.
But she had him rub her feet before it all ended.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, of course he was going to do that.
And what did she say? Oh, I think while you do that, I'm just going to fall asleep in my wedding dress, and proceeded to get comfortable and close her eyes. Miles was like, no, she didn't. And
yes,
even I was
did.
like,
I mean, I knew she was going to do that because she's not feeling Miles. For right now, at least.
Well, for Miles, I hope Karen gives some type of effort for the honeymoon, because otherwise you could really go home now. I mean, why carrying on if you really aren't in it?
Exactly. So we're back with the favorite couple thus far, Woody and Imani. And Woody, aka Woodrow, he is really charming his pants off to Imani.
He is.
Like, he is not taking... basically no for an answer. He got all the questions. And another question he asked her was about her taking off her makeup. And while I do appreciate him asking questions, some questions just don't need to be asked at this moment of time. And this was the second question that didn't need to be asked.
But she did say, I don't normally wear this much, but I will be taking it off tonight. You'll get to see. I'm like, there it is. You'll get to see. So... while they're at the reception, when they have to talk to the parents individually, Woody talks with Imani's dad and stepdad, and they greet him almost like a son already. And Woody's like, what, I really appreciate y'all. I get to have this experience. And he goes on to say a little bit about his dad, how his dad wasn't around. And it looked like he got a little teary-eyed.
He choked me up too.
And when he talks about his dad, you can tell that's really a sore spot for Woody. And I do feel for him. But the dad was like, you know what? You got two of us to contend with, so you better treat her right. Woody said, you know what? I will. I'll take care of her. Like, he wants to have the same type of relationship that Imani has with her dad, to give that husband vibe to her. And I thought that was very sweet.
Well, did you think when, I forgot who said it, when they said he's a little jazzy dude, was that shade?
No, that's just how it takes him. I mean, Jazzy could have been like, with them, he's the number one stunner. I need to get me some glasses.
Glasses for what?
Some stunner shades.
Nobody wears those anymore.
Oh, okay. Moving on to Woody's friends, Imani talks to them and she wants to know how he is. And one of the things they say, he's into his teeth and he wears his white strips and it takes him a long time to get ready, and he's very immaculate, like to the point where it's a problem. I'm like, oh, so he's possibly OCD, a neat freak. I don't see nothing wrong with that. A man or a woman that's clean picks up after themselves.
Well, because you have borderline OCD with you washing your hands and stuff.
Well, that's because of my profession.
And I agree. If they're leaving by 10, they said he gets ready by 7. I mean, I guess some people view that a guy shouldn't take that long, but I start at 5, so 7, that's not too bad.
Well, they're just saying Woody is like, if you need to be somewhere, you need to let him know a different time because you're going to be late every time. And so, they get a laugh out of that. And Amani, she's enjoying that. But one of the friends said, can I put you down as a +1? He's like, for what? He goes, I'm getting married. She's like, oh, cool. Yeah, of course. But do you know your wife?
That was cute. That was a cute little joke. So I'm glad to see that she actually meshes with his friends, which even more kind of lets us know that they actually might really work out. Now, do you think that they're going to do something? Because I agree with Amani's friend. Like, yeah, Woody might want to do something, but he's not going to be upset if y'all don't do anything.
He's not going to be upset if you do. He's not going to be upset if you don't. Either way. But I agree. I mean, you can't make them do it. If they want to, cool. If not, cool. So go with the flow. So that's what she was trying to say to her.
I think the flow is going to go.
I think with most of these couples, the vibe was there with the flow.
Lastly, we finish off with Olivia and Brett. And to me, Olivia seems to love everything that Brett loves. I don't know if it's just 100% coincidence, or even if Olivia thought something was like okay and Brett was like, oh yeah, I love it. I feel like Olivia would still be like, oh yeah, I love it too.
Olivia is another go with the flow. Like, she doesn't want to be alone anymore. She's looking for love. So she was hoping that she'd find someone. And when they both found out about those love of cats, everything was a go from there.
It really was.
That also was a topic of conversation when he talked with her friends too. I'm like, can we talk about something other than these cats?
Well, they were trying to, but every time they were asking Brett a question, it would always be some sarcastic answer, and they're over here looking at him like,
right.
But then when they got to the cat part, he was like, oh yeah, and they were like, oh. So I'm not too sure if her friends are feeling Brett, because if I was Olivia's friend, I wouldn't be feeling Brett either.
I don't know if Brett is grounded, because this is another person who'd been in a relationship that didn't work out, that he might be a little reboundy as well, and he's looking for something that he's lost, like I said in previous video. But when Olivia goes to talk to Brett's brothers, they say to her the same thing, like, oh, well, you have to learn how to take a joke. The same thing they learned already.
Not only take a joke, but yeah, Brett is like a sarcastic onion. He'll be sarcastic for the second time, third time, fourth time, but it's all in good fun. Being sarcastic after the first time, and you can already read the room that people aren't feeling it, it's no longer funny. So yeah. I wasn't laughing at this part. I was laughing throughout the whole episode, but when it came to Olivia and Brett's part, and Brett's family, I wasn't here for it.
I think Olivia loves love, and Brett wants love, but he doesn't know with who. So it'll be interesting to see how they mesh and what they mesh on, because if you're grounded in your separate things and then the only thing that brings you together is your love of cats, you have to have something else in common to move you forward. So I'm not sure where this will go. So we definitely have to see what happens with these two.
Well, coming from Olivia's response when they go to the hotel room, I feel like Olivia's really feeling Brett, and she wants it all to happen. It reminded me of that girl Amber, who was with Matt a couple seasons ago, who just wanted to do things like now, like microwave fast, like everything's now, and it didn't work out.
It seems like that too. Like I said, Olivia loves love, and Brett is here to find what he's missing.
All right, everyone. So that was the end of this week's episode. I actually was quite entertained.
You were?
By this episode. I don't say that too often, but I was dying laughing. throughout this whole episode?
I was entertained to a point, but the rest I wasn't, because I'm like, they could have did the first 3 weddings and receptions last week and did the final 2 this week, because the first 3 with the receptions was just like a filler episode. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't entertained with that. But upcoming, oh, I'm looking forward to the upcoming shows.
Well, let us know what you guys think about this episode in the comments down below and what you think is going to happen next week. So thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you thumbs up this video. Make sure you share this video to other people who watch Married at First Sight. And you become one of our wonderful subscribers so you can be up to date to our next giveaway that we're doing in August.
Thank you all for watching. And as always, live simply, be grateful.